Now, this was a story that I tell in my book, 2 Weeks Notice, that I did not want to talk about. I never want to talk about this topic, but I think it's important because I know that others listening are going to find themselves in the same situation. So especially women. So here's what happened. I always felt like I needed a man to take care of me. I hate to say those words, but it is very true. Going back to my dad and having a bunch of male bosses, it felt very scary and lonely to be out on my own. And even though my business had almost had its first $1 million year, I had met somebody in a mastermind where he was a hotshot. I mean, this guy was so strategic. He was doing online marketing. He was doing even bigger things than me. And we got into a conversation, and the conversation led to, why don't I become a partner in your business? Now, I'd like to tell you that it took me a long time and a lot of thought and a lot of research, since I'm a planner, to make that decision. It took me one sleep. I talked to my husband about it, and I got into a partnership of a business I had created myself. He became a 50-50 partner. It was more of a silent partner where I was still the face of the business, still teaching, doing all of that, but he was behind the scenes. But what happened was, over the next few years, I fell back into being the yes girl, being the employee. I felt like he was my boss. Now, this was no fault to him. It was all on me, but I was letting him call the shots. I was letting him decide what to do. And when things got scary or a launch didn't go well, I'd look at him to tell me everything was going to be all right. I went right back into my pattern. Today, I call this the need to unboss. And I write about this in my book, that I hadn't unbossed myself yet. I was used to having a boss, so I brought on this partner because I was scared that I couldn't do it alone, that it was hard, that what if it was a fluke that I was doing so well and it would be taken away. So I got this partner, and for a few years, it went really, really well. We turned into a multi-million-dollar business. I was absolutely known for Facebook marketing. And then from there, the business even pivoted where I became known for teaching people how to create digital courses because my courses were so successful. So the business was really growing, and I was absolutely unhappy. I lost myself, like completely lost myself. And I realized, I was walking with a girlfriend of mine, and she said, "What's wrong? Something seems off." And I said, "I'm just not happy in my business." And she said, "How's the partnership going?" And I said, "We're not talking about that. I can never get out of it. We're in too deep. We can't even talk about the partnership." And she gave me a look like, I think we need to talk about the partnership. And so a few days after that, I really turned inward and did some reflecting and thought, I want out of this partnership. And that turned into the next hardest year of my life. Now, I want to be clear that my partner was an incredible guy, and he transformed the business in many ways. Not only were we making a lot of money, but we were really touching a lot of lives, teaching people how to become entrepreneurs themselves, how to build businesses. But again, I wasn't happy. I felt like I absolutely lost myself. I was looking to somebody else to make the decisions. And that's not why I became an entrepreneur. If I go back to my why, I wanted to call the shots, and I was no longer calling the shots because I fell back into that, I'm an employee, I've got a boss. And so that next year is where I learned to unboss myself, which meant I had to believe that I was able and capable of leading myself, that I did not need anybody else to lead me, that I was capable of leading myself. And so for the next year, I did a lot of therapy. I worked with coaches. I talked to a lot of mentors to help me along this journey to unboss myself. And of course, I talked to my partner and said, I want out. Well, we didn't have a lot of things in place to make a clean exit. And so as we went through the next year talking about what that was going to look like, me knowing I would have to pay him to get out of the business, things weren't working out. We did not see eye to eye. He had one idea of what it would look like. I had a dramatically different idea. And so I realized, I think I'm going to have to dissolve this business. I don't get to take it over, but he doesn't either. And this business that I feel like I had birthed myself was literally going to have to be dissolved. And that was really hard for me. My blood, sweat, and tears, my passion. I had found my passion. I was teaching people. I was helping people create their own freedoms. I knew I was doing what I was meant to be doing, and I thought it was all going to be taken away from me. We couldn't come to an understanding or an agreement of what we were going to do. And so I went to bed one night, cried all day. My eyes were puffy and red. I'm definitely a crier. I went to bed that night and thought, this is never going to work. And then something inside of me shifted, and I thought, if we have to burn it down, I will build it back better. I don't know. I think it was in my heart, but I have a lot of strong faith. I think it was God saying, you've got this. If it all goes away, you know how to make money online. You know how to change lives online. You can redo this. You can start over. And the minute I realized I can start over, I will burn it down and build it back better, was the day I was able to let go and say, whatever is to happen is going to happen. And that is when we decided to go into mediation. And through mediation, I got my business back. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Through an entire day of mediation, which was something brand new to me. I didn't understand how that worked. It was very nerve-wracking. But at the end, we went from like 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. I called up my husband, Hobie, and I said, the business is mine. And he said, as it always was. And I was just, everything felt like I had a new beginning, a new life. And so the big punchline to this is that the very next day, I woke up and it was my business. I was my own boss again. I was calling the shots again. I felt like an entirely new person. And in the next year, from that point to a year later, we went from $5 million to $16.5 million in the business. And I think it was because it was the first time I actually believed in myself. What excites me most about the future is that I know what I've been able to do is not unique. I know that what I've done in my business, I can teach other people how to do it. So I wrote a book called 2 Weeks Notice, and it's all about how to find the courage to quit your 9-to-5 job and work wherever you want to work, make more money, and change the world. And basically, I map out for people exactly how I did what I did to create the business I have today. Because I really do believe that entrepreneurship will change the world. There's nothing like being your own boss, calling the shots, having time with your family, spending time the way you want to spend time, making the amount of money you want to make. I often say that the worst day as an entrepreneur, if I think about my partnership and getting out of it and all the tears, like the worst day as an entrepreneur is still better than the best day in a 9-to-5 job. And I think it comes down to having the freedom and the ability to create a life by your own design. And that's what I'm most excited to usher in new entrepreneurs and help more people become their own boss. If you're in a 9-to-5 job that you don't love, if you know you're not getting paid what you're worth, if you're spending time doing things that you do not love to do, but you were afraid to take the leap, first you got to know that's very normal to be afraid. I was terrified to go out on my own. The one thing that helped me is that I relied more on courage than confidence. I believe that courage comes way before confidence ever comes. Confidence is, I've got a track record. I know how to do this. This is all working for me. I'm going to do more of that. Courage is, I'm going to take a leap of faith. I don't know if this is going to work, but I want it bad enough. So first of all, you've got to tap into courage. Everybody has courage. You have courage, but you've got to tap into it. And number two, you have to get clear on your why. Why do you want it? For me, it started out with, I want more freedom. I don't want a boss. I want to call the shots. I want to live a life by my own design. Today, my why has changed. It's more about, I want to usher in more entrepreneurs. I want to help more people find the freedom. But in the beginning, it was very selfish just about me, and I think that's fine. Find your why right now, where you stand. What do you want more than anything? Not how are you going to get it, but what do you want? and then find the courage to go after it. When you become an entrepreneur, everything doesn't start to just fall into place for you. You don't start to make money right away. You don't have the connections. We all start with 0 social media, 0 people on our email list, $0 in the bank. And so when you look around and you see all these entrepreneurs doing big, amazing things, please remember that they started at 0. You can never compare the back end of your business or your life with the shiny front end of somebody else's, where they're telling you all the good stuff on social media. So one of the things that has helped me immensely is to stay in my lane. I learned this from Oprah on a podcast I had heard years ago, where she said when she was building her business, they would run the business like a racehorse. You know how a racehorse has blinders on, can't look left or right, you just gotta look forward? Well, that's exactly what she did and what I have adopted in my own business. I don't look around to see what else everyone else is doing. I put blinders on, stay in my lane, and run my own race. And if you can do that, I promise you, as long as you don't give up, you'll get there.